curious if you think about terms like sustainability, conservation, or even perhaps regeneration. Hey there, Daniel Hartman, Community Machinery. We're in the welding area of the shop. Thought it was a perfect place to talk about manufacturing. It's something that's been with me for a long time on my journey. In fact, this very machine here, I bought it brand new and I took delivery of it on the day before 9/11. And it's one of those things where it was the beginning of a crossroads on my journey where growing up there were a lot of things I felt afraid of in terms of, we were always talking about things like acid rain, and the hole in the ozone layer was a big deal. And it got to be the point where I didn't know how to stomach it all, so I got into pursuits of hot rodding cars and doing all these things that everyone around me was doing, and the things I came to know growing up. As far as everyone I knew, it was by the 1944 they drove, or 51 Chevrolet, and all these things don't have an inherent deep meaning. It's really the story we attach to them. And in saying that, a lot of people have asked, are the plans available? Can I build this thing myself? Which, a big part of the reason I got into manufacturing was the idea that I would economize, that I would save some money, that I would save some energy. And in having integrity and really wanting to provide the best products and services possible, really keeping that in-house, getting the vision refined, getting products refined. I love the prototyping, I would say, more than manufacturing. Yet, there's a decision as far as having integrity in manufacturing and how to make sure that happens, where there's a saying something like, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. And I know for me, growing up, no one talked about things like stick welding. If it's a hydrogen rod, it's in the damp, which means basically out of a what's known as a hermetically sealed package for more than something like 24 hours. And it's not kept in a welding rod oven at, I think it's like 300 and some odd degrees. I forget all that data. Anyhow, you can get hydrogen inclusions in welds with stick welding with a hydrogen rod. And a lot of people, a lot of tradespeople don't even know details like this, where that hydrogen inclusion, it's not a matter of when it comes out or if it comes out, it's just a matter of when. There's all these little details. And in wanting to provide something that's really a great engineered product, which means it's not just going to pass by what I say is a good machine, but also people who have done specific training in engineering for what's safe mechanically, what needs to be done as far as preventing any kind of safety oversight, as far as no one getting their hand caught in moving parts. Things like that, that it's hard to translate and do that on a one-by-one basis. I'm a big fan of lean manufacturing. I love the idea of one-piece flow, and really made a lot of changes, especially in the past year, as I've integrated a lot of these new ideas. But there's still something to be said for doing batch work. I mean, if you're farming, it's really tough for, if a guy like me shows up and says, I really love okra, can you grow some for me next week? Or even if I said that at the beginning of the season, and you realize your bread and butter is tomatoes and garlic and all those other crops and lettuce mixed, that you're gonna say, you know what, sorry, if we're hanging out at the market, I can give you all kinds of pointers on growing that okra. Or if we developed a deep enough relationship where you're coming to my farm and fixing all my stuff and making life so easy for me, then I'll grow you okra. But looking at how we interact, how we come together, there's a few really good solutions that are in the list on the compost spreader page, as far as things like farmer-led cooperatives where people bring all their different skills together in order to build something. And that's definitely a way I would consider, as far as sharing technology, sharing how the compost spreader is built, making any complex parts that make sense to do in a batch here and ship off. If there's a collective that wants to build and can demonstrate that they've got the proficiency to make things really great and safe. because it always starts with safety. We let go of safety in the vision, and that's really where we experience something traumatic, whether it happens this time or next time. I know actually a really embarrassing story. When we were prototyping the compost spreader, I was going behind it. We had some bridging in the hopper. The compost was wet and it wasn't falling down to the bottom. And I went behind and I just kicked it a couple times. And it wasn't too much later that we got back to the compost pile. We're going to take another scoop. We heard this crack. And it was actually the spot where the top link bolts on the tractor. There's 4 bolts holding it on. And over time, those bolts had started to shear. You could see once we figured out what it was, initially we were going to ignore it. Oh, that's nothing. Let's get another scoop. And then we look and see this piece is starting to pull away. And going on closer inspection, if you ever look at a broken bolt and you can see where 90% or even more is rust and it's just hanging on by that little shiny thread, that little sliver, it was like that. And providing a good manual and good safety practices, you know, it would show, hey, if this thing is in use, stay out of the range of where a hydraulic, you know, things like hydraulic buckets, or even here in the shop, you're making sure if the forklift is being used, the forks get lowered. Same thing with front end loaders or a compost spreader, lower all the hydraulics down to the ground and don't stay around them. Don't get in the loader bucket. Make sure we're safe in these things, and really telling stories like this, how that could have been a close call where if that thing had landed on me, that would have been fatal. To demonstrate we'll have these oversights, yeah, it's really about the wisdom we bring together and prevent anything from happening, especially to the children, because that's where we'll feel it the most. Those young lives. And still feel like a kid myself, and sometimes I act like one. But yeah, really having the safety conversation is an important thing, and it's really one over time to be more the foundation of a big part of where we come together and bond around, as far as not just looking after our physical health by eating this really great food that's fit for unicorns, but also looking after our safety and the quality and so many other aspects of our lives and coming together. Instead of thinking about how to save a really quick buck, is to look at what skills and just to start a conversation, the same as through really great mentors of mine who said, you know, don't just go and try and sell people on things. Start a conversation, provide value. And if there's one thing you take away and it's the only thing, it's, yeah, definitely safety. And what more can we say than that? Please like, please subscribe, please keep in touch, and please like this video if you've enjoyed a little bit of what I've shared. Hopefully it came across in a good way. And with that, please stay tuned, there's more to come.